Hello, welcome to my first art rant of 2025, now that I'm actually mentally stable enough to yap about random things again. I know I said I didn't really want to cover drama stuff now that I'm getting back into making these types of videos, and it is true, I will not be covering drama with like specific situations or specific people at all. But I do want to talk about this general discourse I've seen online lately because I've also been personally affected by it. I've even had people degrade me and tell me I should take my art down and apologize for posting anything at all, and I honestly already wanted to talk about this for a while now because it brings up a major issue that I've been noticing online for a good few years now. I'm going to do a brief content warning as this video will discuss themes like gore and also have a very brief mention of fetishes at a part where I discuss the main issues people are having with Goretober. If you don't know, during the month of October for Halloween, there are a variety of art challenges revolving around being given daily prompts where you draw something each day based off of that one word prompt. This began in 2009 when an artist named Jake Parker started a challenge for himself called Inktober, which got very popular amongst artists online, who began creating their own versions of October-themed daily art challenges such as OC-tober, Arttober, Cringetober, and the one relevant to this video, Goretober. I couldn't find a specific creator who began Goretober since there have been many different people posting their own Goretober prompts each year. I mean, I even have my own version that I've been hosting for a few years now. But the main concept is in the name. It's like Inktober with the fact it has daily prompts you're meant to draw, but with a gory twist to it. Anything ranging from tiny blood smears to pieces that look straight out of a slasher film are to be expected. And personally, I think it's a very fun exercise for horror artists to have for improving their skills while being able to easily find other artists with similar interests in all things gruesome. And I am totally unbiased in this video. I swear you can trust me to be unbiased, guys. So you might be wondering, Lex, what could anyone possibly be mad about? And dear viewer, you will probably not be surprised. But the answer is what it usually is when something dumb is happening in the art community these days. Dumb kids on TikTok. I don't want to show any specific videos or comments because like I said before, most of these people are just ignorant children who have yet to discover the not interested button, and I don't want to be responsible for any sort of harassment sent their way. But there has been a much larger influx of people this year making videos on places like YouTube and TikTok trying to demonize Goretober and the artists who participated in it, along with people going out of their way to harass artists who draw any sort of gory art for Goretober. The main arguments I've seen that aren't just gore art's icky, no, I don't like, are that they think artists with an interest in gore art must have some sort of fetish for it, that it's not healthy to draw so much disturbing content so often, or the classic think of the children argument. I just want you to know all these arguments are actual arguments I've seen people make after hours of looking for any sort of argument that was more than just personally being uncomfortable with that type of art. And I personally find the fetish argument very stupid. Mostly because these days in the art community, it's one of the first things people say when they simply don't like what you draw. You draw fat people, must be a fetish. You draw people with scars, must be a fetish. You regularly draw literally any type of character not deemed conventionally attractive. Well, obviously it's a fetish. There's no other reason anyone would ever draw something that isn't palatable to the mainstream viewer unless it's some sort of sick fetish. You are obviously just some disgusting pervert and now you're canceled. But genuinely, the fetish argument is completely unfounded and thrown around way too often, especially when if you look through the Goretober tag, you don't see anything sexualized. You just see horror art. It actually irritates me when people go around baselessly accusing artists of only drawing to fulfill some sort of fetish, because you can't just go around throwing accusations like that, especially when people will basically accuse literal children of having some sort of secret fetish. If you're on Art Talk, you know exactly what I'm referencing here, but I don't want to get off topic. Someone drawing something that isn't deemed normal doesn't mean they have some fetish for it. Some people just have an interest in horror, so obviously they'll like drawing horror-themed art. That does not mean they get off to it. So this entire point is pretty pointless when you have no evidence except for your own wild assumptions. For the point about people saying it can't be healthy to draw that type of art, I personally don't believe the people making this point are genuine with their so-called concern. Someone who is truly concerned for the health of another person does not harass or attack that person, as that does nothing to help them and will only alienate them further from seeking help if they genuinely do have a problem. But let's just pretend for a second this point is out of true concern, like just for the sake of the argument. Even then, I don't see this as a very strong argument. We don't go around saying writing horror novels or directing slasher films is unhealthy. We don't call out authors or directors for creating such gruesome and violent content. So why is it suddenly so different when an artist is doing it? If anything, shouldn't the slasher films and horror books disturb you more, since they have so much more time and detail put into them? The truth is, there is no difference. Horror artists exist for the same reason horror authors exist. They both have an interest in the macabre and want to bring their stories and ideas to life through their mediums. Every artwork has a story it's telling. Every piece has meaning and talent put into it. Art is the most beautiful thing humanity has created. Everything an artist creates is birthed from their mind and gorgeously translated onto a canvas to share with the world. It's not something to be revolted by. This argument also gives off the same vibes as the old video games cause violence argument from the 90s, claiming that having an interest in fictional violence must mean you're violent in real life. While there are studies that indicate younger children can be negatively impacted by fictional violence, I could not find a single reputable source claiming that it negatively impacts the average healthy adult. I will link the sources I found relating to how violence in media can impact children and adults in the description because they were actually pretty interesting reads. However, this doesn't change the fact that there's not a single reputable source I could find that supports this argument, and this is where I'm going to leave that off. Though bringing up children does give me a chance for a smoother transition into the classic "think of the kids" argument people are using here too. To say this, I will say I do agree young children should not view gore regardless of whether it's fictional or real. As I just said, there is evidence that it does negatively impact younger children. However, the vast majority of gore artists give content warnings before showing their art, and all of these social medias are 13 plus. So if anyone who isn't at least a teenager is on that platform, that is a failure of their parents rather than a failure of the innocent artist just trying to draw for a Halloween themed art event. Saying that artists shouldn't be allowed to draw anything horror related just in case a hypothetical child may see it is like being a parent who drops their kid off at a movie theater, but instead of the kid going to see the new Sonic movie, the kid sneaks into Terrifier, comes out traumatized, and then the parent comes and yells at the employees for having that movie in the theater in the first place. See how that makes no sense? Because the employees did their job. They rated the movie accurately. They didn't give the child a ticket to Terrifier. They sold the kid a ticket to Sonic, the movie the kid was supposed to see. The kid is the one who went out of their way to sneak into the movie, despite knowing the age warning, despite knowing that they were not allowed in and would not have been sold a ticket if they tried to actually get in the right way. The parent is the one in the wrong for the most part though, for leaving their kid unsupervised if the kid wasn't mature enough to handle behaving properly alone at the theater. Just like how if a kid lies about their age to get onto a 13 plus app, stays past the content warnings and sees some gore art, the fault mostly lies with the parents for not making sure their kid could handle unrestricted internet access before just blindly trusting them with it. You cannot blame someone who did everything they were supposed to. If someone knowingly bypasses your warnings, they can't blame you for what they end up seeing because you warned them. Gore is not inherently bad. I could not find a single trustworthy psychological study indicating that looking at something violent in fiction had a negative impact on the average healthy adult. So since it literally hurts nobody as long as it's properly labeled, there is zero issue with it. While seeing this whole controversy though, it did remind me of a much bigger problem that's been festering within the internet as a whole ever since 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. And how it drew many people who were previously not that invested in social media into it. I'd like to argue that online spaces becoming more mainstream had a very negative impact on those online communities. Ever since then, there's been a huge rise in self-entitlement, black and white thinking, a general sense of unawareness, and overall so much negativity. I won't lie and say the internet pre-2020 was some perfect wonderland. There were still predators, harassment, and general bullying, but it was way more bearable than the current internet. Or maybe I'm just saying this out of nostalgia and nothing I'm about to say makes sense. Who knows? Sure, before 2020, there were still dumb kids sneaking into spaces they weren't meant to be in. Hell, I was one of them. I was on Amino back when I was 7. And while I agree I definitely shouldn't have been, I was fucked up way before getting internet access, so I don't personally really believe it matters that much in my case. But back then, children weren't going around shaming everyone for not being completely family friendly. We were aware that we were the ones invading, that these spaces were never meant to cater to us, which a lot of these kids trying to shit on Goretober don't seem to recognize. You are the one invading a space not meant for you. You cannot come in here and criticize us for something completely harmless just because you chose to bypass the age limit and didn't like seeing it. The internet has never been something perfectly catered to every single person. The internet is way too huge for that. Instead, there are different parts of the internet for different people. And most people used to have the common sense to just quietly leave if they found themselves on a part of the internet they didn't like. But now, it's much more common to see people start demanding that entire communities completely change just because it personally upsets them, which is just an insane level of entitlement. If you don't like what you're seeing, leave. And go look for content you do want to see, instead of expecting thousands of people to change everything about themselves purely for your own comfort. I feel like the people online today don't realize that the other people on the internet are real people too. You are not the only person online. We're not just bots existing and posting random stuff for you specifically to look at. You are not the only person on here. You are not the only one who matters. And about the black and white thinking problem I mentioned, I do mostly blame TikTok for it, given TikTok was the main platform people were rushing to during 2020. As much as I love TikTok, literally nobody on that app is capable of a nuanced conversation. You say one thing and they'll immediately assume you're implying a million other things. This is a problem all over the internet now, but especially on TikTok, and was nowhere near as bad before all these people not used to internet culture came on and started getting invested. Instead of realizing it might not be for them, they began trying to push people out of their own spaces just to make it more palatable. It's such a huge problem now, and it honestly makes me sad. I wish people could just enjoy themselves without constantly tearing each other down over something as petty as personally disliking a genre. I can't really think of any solutions that don't involve a time machine, and I wish there was some magical way we could reverse everything and go back to how things used to be. I know things weren't very good back then either, but I'd take it over the current art community any day. To end this off, I do want to say that sites like TikTok and Tumblr have the option to go into your settings and select specific tags you want to block from being shown to you. So if there's anything truly bothering you so badly to the point of genuine distress, you can easily choose to stop seeing it by just messing with your settings a little bit. I did this on Tumblr to avoid seeing smoke when what I wanted to actually read was just angst or character analysis posts. At the end of the day, you are on your own device, and you can cater to the things you actually enjoy seeing. If you personally dislike gore art, you can choose to stop seeing it. Never waste your time on content you aren't enjoying. Just ignore it and go interact with something you find real joy in instead.